Although Sony will not be at E3 2019 this year, that doesn't mean there won't be announcements for the PlayStation brand. Obviously, there are a lot of things to discuss when it comes to PlayStation. Of course, we're going to have things like the PlayStation Experience event this year. But today, Sony introduced something called PlayStation State of Play, which was sort of a way that they could get information about upcoming games, and new VR stuff to consumers. Sort of like a Nintendo Direct. And the first event just happened, and well, there were some problems. There were some big problems with the event, but I want to basically go over what PlayStation State of Play was about, how they presented it, what I liked from it, and what I didn't like about it. So let's talk about PlayStation State of Play.
Hey, RGT 85. Hey, Sean.
Oh my God, it's Stevie Richards! So first off, we're going to talk about the things I liked from the event, and then we're going to talk about things I disliked from the event, some questions that I have, and maybe some plans for that, how they can improve this in the future. First and foremost, there were some good things about this event. One of them has to be Days Gone, and I know what you're saying to yourself, well, RGT, you didn't really seem all that invested in Days Gone and before, and you would be correct, but I actually liked what I saw from Days Gone at this event. I like the way the gameplay looks, and I like this story that they're pushing with the game. I don't know what it was about the storytelling in this trailer that they had for Days Gone, but it sort of made me interested in the game, way more so than I was previously. It definitely looks like a combination of like Dead Rising and The Last of Us, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Dead Rising is a really good game, and The Last of Us is a really good game too. So I like this interesting hybrid blend. The main character himself is a bit too, cliche for my feelings, but I feel like he has some depth to him, and there's going to be some really interesting story developments. The gameplay itself looks pretty smooth. I've heard mixed things about recent builds that people have played, but supposedly those were older builds of the game, and I don't know, the game just looks kind of fun to me. I like zombies, I'm kind of sick of these zombie-ridden games, but I still do like zombies, and I think everyone does like zombies. So I don't know, Days Gone, it's probably not going to be a day one purchase for me, but I think they did a good job at sort of sparking my interest in this game. Another thing I really liked is the Mortal Kombat 11 trailer. Now, we've been seeing a lot of stuff come out of Mortal Kombat 11. Of course, this is a multi-platform release that will be coming out on the PS4, the Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch, and I liked what they showcased of this game. They showed basically older versions of character battling their current versions of characters, so I'm sure that's going to play into the storyline, but they announced 3 new characters that I'm pretty sure were not announced previously before this event, and that is Jax, Kung Lao, and Liu Kang. Now, I think everyone expected Liu Kang to be in this game. He's pretty much a staple of the Mortal Kombat franchise since the original game, but it was definitely cool to see Kung Lao and of course Jax introduced into Mortal Kombat 11. I thought their character models looked really good, and everything I've seen about this game so far is very impressive. I'm guessing Ed Boon is like a real OG because every Mortal Kombat 11 trailer has had some really interesting rap music that I know a lot of people don't like rap music. I do like rap music, so it's cool to me, but it's just curious to see how every single one of these trailers has some sort of rap song to it, and I enjoy it, but I know there are people out there that probably don't. But all in all, I think Mortal Kombat 11 looks really damn good, and everything that we've seen from it so far just looks really impressive, so I can't wait to pick it up. But my favorite game from this presentation had to be the announcement of a new game called Concrete Genie. Now, I'm not really sold on the title of the game because I don't feel like it really plays into the game, but from what we saw of the game, it looks absolutely fantastic. You're basically playing as this kid who gets bullied. He doesn't have any real-world friends, so he paints his own friends on walls and murals and things like that. And this game just looks absolutely gorgeous. I love the visual style of the game. It kind of reminds me a bit of the new Beyond Good and Evil game, but I really liked what I saw from this game. It looks like you'll be going into different areas as well aside from this main hub city, and I just love the way the painting works in this game where you're painting things on the wall and it basically comes into life in the game that you're playing. The movement system kind of reminds me a bit of Sunset Overdrive and how you get from place to place, and everything about this game just looked very, very high quality. I don't know if this is going to be a full $60 release on the PS4, but what I do know is I'm very impressed with this game. I want to see more from this game, and this will definitely be a day one purchase for me. Once again, the game is called Concrete Genie, and I highly suggest you guys check out the full trailer for Concrete Genie if you like games in this sort of style, because it was very impressive, like I said, and it just looked absolutely fantastic. And one more thing that I really liked about this presentation was just the snappiness of it. It was very tight, it was very snappy, it felt a lot like a Nintendo Direct, almost to a fault at some point. It had the same sort of little transitions, there was no people talking to you on screen, it was just a lady doing a voiceover, and you just went from game to game to game. There wasn't any sort of downtime like you see with the Inside Xbox things, which I feel just drag on for far too long. This was about a 17-minute presentation, and everything in it was nice, tight, and compact, so I definitely put my hats off to Sony for making such a nice, tight presentation and not going the route of having a lot of filler and a lot of fluff. But on the downside of things, well, there was quite a few things that I was just not impressed with. First off, let's talk about how they started off this event. They started off this event with a Tony Stark cameo. And so all of a sudden everyone's like, holy shit, an Iron Man game for the PS4? This is absolutely huge. Is it going to be like Spider-Man with this huge open world? And they sort of teased it, and then they were like, Iron Man VR! And it was like, oh, no. And that was pretty much a overall tone for this whole event was VR. I knew there was going to be VR stuff at this. They said there was going to be VR stuff at it, but I was definitely surprised to see how much of an emphasis there was on VR stuff with the Iron Man VR, which essentially just kind of looks like a mini game from what they showed, and I could see a lot of people getting sick playing that. They also showed off No Man's Sky with the VR thing, and it was like, okay, you know, that's cool. I feel like a lot of people have sort of moved on from that game and the initial controversy with that game. They sort of moved on to other games. There was a Five Nights at Freddy's VR, and it's like, oh, Jesus Christ. Like, I don't hate VR, but I'm not that interested in VR. And I guess they're trying to get more people interested in VR, but I felt like this wasn't really the way to do it. They also did a VR sizzle reel. I was really surprised with just the amount of VR stuff that was available in this presentation. But definitely one of the biggest problems with this was just how disappointing it was. And if you guys watched my video talking about what I was expecting from this event, I obviously had my expectations very low. I did not expect there to be any blockbuster PS4 announcements. I thought maybe the biggest thing we would see is something like a PS2 or a PS3 remaster brought over to the PS4. But I wasn't expecting big things, but I was expecting basic things. Things that I think everyone in the PlayStation community wants to know about. Sort of like Death Stranding, release date for that, information on that, gameplay on that, anything about Death Stranding. There was no Death Stranding at this event. Okay, so no Death Stranding at the event. Well, what about The Last of Us 2? Did we get any information on that? Any sort of gameplay? Any look at the multiplayer of it? A release date for that? No, there wasn't one of those either. Alright, well, what about Ghost of Tsushima? I probably say that wrong every time, but that's just how I'm going to say it. Did we get any information on that? Did we get a release date on that? Did we get any gameplay on that? No, we didn't. We didn't even get anything on Medieval, which is something that I think a lot of people were sort of expecting to be at this event. I actually had forgotten about that game because Sony hasn't said anything about it since E3 2018. They, of course, did a little trailer for it, said, hey, it's coming, and then that was it. Pretty much radio silence. And I felt like this would have been a really good opportunity to talk about smaller games like that or give a release date to one of your 3 big games. But no, it wasn't there. There was just so much focus on VR, and I just felt like this whole presentation was just too short. If you compare it directly to a Nintendo Direct event, it's definitely like one of the worst Nintendo Direct events ever. And that's not inherently saying that this is going to be a failure for Sony, because I feel like this is still their first event doing this. They're obviously going to be looking for feedback and criticism of what they could do better and what was actually good about the event. And I think there were positive things from this event. Like I said, the presentation, the snappiness of the presentation, how everything just flowed together really nicely was definitely a highlight. But when you start off on Iron Man VR, that really just sort of is a kick to the nuts, because people were probably expecting an Iron Man game. I know I was. And they ended the presentation on that Mortal Kombat 11 stuff. And like, yeah, that's cool, but that's a multi-platform release. Like, yes, you got the exclusive reveal of those characters, which admittedly is very hype, but they could have just done more, I feel like. They should have focused a little bit more on PS4 projects, not so much on PSVR projects, and maybe had a bit more of surprises. Like I said, Concrete Genie looks absolutely fantastic. That was definitely my favorite thing from this whole event. I think it has a lot of promise. I think it's going to be a sleeper hit, and I hope that it gets a physical release as well, because I really have high hopes for that game. And even Days Gone looked a bit more interesting this time around. But Sony, they definitely need to do some work on this presentation. I feel like they should have had maybe another surprise or two. It doesn't have to be a massive surprise, but just something. And Days End looked really good too. It really sort of drew me into that game and made me interested in that game. But all in all, it was definitely a disappointing PlayStation State of Play event, especially considering they're not going to E3 this year. I think a lot of people expected this to be like a mini E3 for them. Maybe they showcased some stuff, maybe they talked about release dates, or at least showed gameplay of some of these games that a lot of us are looking forward to, yet they didn't. So Sony, you're going in the right direction. You didn't go the inside Xbox route, so that's perfectly great with me. I like the shorter presentations as long as there's there's enough stuff in there, but I feel like you guys need to have some more stuff in there to really make sort of an impact in the gaming sphere with these events. But you're off to a decent start, just some room for improvement. So let me know in the comments section down below what you thought of PlayStation's State of Play event. Were you a bit disappointed with it like myself? Did you enjoy the VR stuff? I'm sure VR people that have a PlayStation VR probably absolutely love this event because there was so much focus on VR, and it seems like Sony is really still pushing this. And of course that sort of ties into the rumors of the PS5, but for me personally, I'm just still not sold on VR yet, and I don't think this did anything to sort of sell me on that. And as always, thank you guys for checking out this video. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Check out other videos on the channel, and as always, I will catch you guys on the next video. Later.